Hello everyone, back again with movie and tune recap. Today, I'm going to explain episode 3 and 4 of an American sci-fi film from 2025, titled The War Between the Land and the Sea. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. The episode continues from the previous meeting, where Barkley agrees to meet Salt and the Homo Aqua in the Atlantic Ocean. The scene shifts to HM Naval Blackport, where General Pierce welcomes Barkley and the team. They are there to be trained for the upcoming meeting, as nothing of this scale has ever been attempted before. The team includes Barkley, General Pierce, Captain Louise, Scientist Mintso, an Indian guy, Ravi, and Ted Campbell, a military officer. Meanwhile, Kate asks Captain Gates for an update, and he tells her that the final checks are almost complete. Once the team reaches the descent point, the Homo Aqua will transfer them into their environment, and during the descent, they will be completely on their own. At home, Barbara talks to Barkley about the risks of the mission, but Barkley reassures her that he will be fine. Their daughter Kirby becomes upset and tells Barkley what people are calling him online. She says she hates them and runs to her room. Barkley tries to calm Barbara, but he admits that he is scared and begins to cry. Barbara and Kirby comfort him, and the family shares an emotional moment before Barkley leaves for the mission. On the plane, Ravi complains that he is not suited for this mission, while Ted says the mission will change their lives. Ted then shows the group a diplomatic gift he brought, a globe, and he explains that the Homo Aqua have never seen the world like this. After arriving at the ship, the team are welcomed by Captain Gates' crew, and with everything ready, they enters the submersible. It is lowered into the ocean, and as it descends deeper, everyone struggles to stay calm. Ted panics when he thinks there is water on his shoulder, but Barkley explains that it is only condensation. In a meeting, Kate speaks to Prime Minister Shaw, reminding him that it is a United Nations directive that UNIT must have a voice in all emergency discussions. General Gunsberg speaks about how much the United States depends on maritime trade and says the US will protect itself against any disruption. He reveals that the military is developing sonic weapons, arguing that ultra-high-frequency blasts could confuse or disable the Homo Aqua. Kate questions why weapons are being discussed and argues with Gunsberg about their use. A woman suggests that the Homo Aqua could be a gift and might help solve the climate crisis and other global problems. However, Gunsberg insists that the Homo Aqua want humans gone and claims the sea could be taken if a war begins. Sir Keith tells Kate that she has already failed if she is trying to keep the peace, and Dusselier agrees with him. At the ocean, Ravi worries that the team might be taken hostage, but Barkley tries to calm everyone down. As the descent continues, they begin talking about what they will do once they return to land. Louise says she wants to get out and call her brother, whom she has not spoken to in 20 years, and Ravi says he wants to take his 19 family members out for a meal. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Shaw and the others wait anxiously for news. Sir Keith and General Gunsberg tell Shaw that the situation is catastrophic and that humanity cannot give up control of the planet. Dusselier says UNIT is acting in its own interest and believes it is their duty to stop Aquakind at all costs. Shaw responds that he promised his grandchildren he would leave the country better than he found it, and Gunsberg replies that there will be no grandchildren if they do not win this war. Keith then says there may be another way forward and reveals a new strategy called severance. At UNIT headquarters, Colonel Christopher gives Kate a coffee and tells her she needs a break. Kate worries that UNIT is about to be shut out, and soon after, a UNIT technician informs her that the submersible has reached the deepest part of the trench. Inside the submersible, General Pierce tries to contact someone on the surface. Suddenly, the submersible begins moving again and appears to be dragged along, and Barkley wonders if they are inside something. The system then shuts down, and Ravi fears they are about to be killed, but instead, a hatch opens. The atmosphere and temperature are safe for humans, and the team steps outside. They are welcomed by Salt, who tells them they are deeper than any human has ever been before. She explains that the environment has been prepared for them and says they can remove their helmets. Everyone does so, except Ted, who chooses to keep his helmet on. Back at headquarters, Christopher tells Kate that she is shaking because she is exhausted, and says that if he reported her condition, she would be escorted out of the building. He wants her to be fully prepared when Barkley and the others return, and Kate agrees to go home to continue working from there. Back in the ocean, Salt explains where they are. She says the Homo Aqua are nomads and do not live there permanently. She also explains that all aquatic life, including Homo Aqua, lives together. Later, Salt and Barkley are left alone, and Barkley says he feels like he has known her forever. Salt touches him, and Barkley asks if he can touch her too. When he does, Salt asks what he feels, and Barkley says strength and beauty, and admits he does not know why Salt chose him for this role. Salt tells him that the tides brought them together and that the undercurrents are pulling them closer. Barkley says he does not want to ruin this, and Salt says they could make a difference together, and their moment is interrupted by Pierce and the others. As the journey continues, they are taken to meet many more Homo Aqua, and Salt welcomes them to her domain. Meanwhile, Kate speaks with Christopher about the team being deep underwater with no support, and Christopher asks if they will have to keep their relationship secret forever. Kate replies that their personal lives do not matter right now because the future of the human race depends on what happens tonight. At that moment, her phone rings, and the unit technician tells her that there has been no news from the delegates. The technician also shares intelligence gathered from the Cobra meeting, noting that one word keeps appearing: severance. Kate says the word means nothing to her, but the technician explains that it has been used 14 times in the past 2 days. Suddenly, Christopher pushes Kate out of the way as unknown sniper tries to shoot her from outside. Kate checks on Christopher and sees that he has been shot in the chest. She tries to stop the bleeding, but Christopher dies, and the attacker then attempts to shoot Kate again. Meanwhile, back in the ocean, Ted presents the globe to Salt, and he cryptically tells her that her war is already lost. It is revealed that the globe is actually a bomb meant to erase the creatures. Barkley reacts quickly and knocks the globe out of Ted's hands. The globe explodes, destroying the ocean cavern, and the blast kills many sea devils and humans. Salt manages to save Barkley by grabbing him and pushing them both up to the surface. Meanwhile, Kate narrowly avoids being shot by an unknown sniper, and she immediately calls technician Shirley, tells her where she is, and asks for help. Soon after, Corporal tells Shirley with devastating news: all the delegates are dead. Meanwhile, armed forces arrive at Kate's location and eliminate the sniper, and Kate asks who the attacker was, but Shirley says they do not know. A news report confirms there was an underwater explosion at the site of the diplomatic meeting, and Barbara and Kirby watch the report together and become very worried. The news states that the Homo Aqua ambassador has released a video, claiming responsibility for the deaths of the H2O diplomats. In the video, Salt tells the human race that the diplomats are dead and warns that anyone who enters their waters will suffer the same fate. However, technician Steve tells Shirley that the video might be a deepfake. After returning to the ship, Barkley calls Shirley. He tells her that Ted Campbell caused the device to explode and that everyone was crushed in front of him. Kate arrives and asks Barkley how he survived, and Barkley says he is not even sure that he did. When Kate asks if Salt saved him, Barkley says she held him, but he does not understand how or why, and also insists that the broadcast video is fake. Barkley says he wants to speak to Salt, but Kate tells him it is not possible, and in the eyes of the world, Salt has accepted responsibility for what happened. Because of this, she is now considered a prisoner of war, and Salt is shown being held inside an asset container. A news report lists the people who were killed in the explosion, and Jane and Shirley discuss the deaths and the likelihood that the bodies may never be recovered. Shirley advises Kate to take a personal guard, but Kate refuses, saying she does not want to be followed. The man who tried to assassinate Kate is identified as Miklos Konstantinos. He was born in Athens and was removed from command in the Hellenic Army in 2010. In 2011, he appeared as a mercenary fighting alongside pro-Gaddafi forces, and Kate begins to question who hired Miklos. At a secret meeting, Prime Minister Shaw asks Gunsberg if the attack is connected to them, and Dominique confirms there is evidence that Miklos was employed by the Institute of Los Clementi. It is the same group that sent Ted on his mission, and this means the Institute could now be in serious trouble. Gunsberg says he can shut the Institute down by force within 2 hours and hand those responsible over to UNIT. However, there is a serious complication. Ted is linked to Keith, who invested in the Institute in 2015, and while Gunsberg does not believe Keith caused the explosion, he knows the authorities will discover the connection. If Keith is investigated, his connection to the severance will be discovered, and Shaw realizes how serious the situation is. He asks what should be done, and Gunsberg asks for permission to handle it. Shaw agrees, but only after making sure there will be no link back to him. He then gives Gunsberg the order, and soon after, an assassin goes to Keith's home and shoots him dead. Sergeant Hannah tells Barkley that UNIT will take care of Salt. She is moved to UNIT Tower, but Barkley is not convinced she will be safe. He speaks to a former colleague about Salt and his new job, and his colleague believes Salt killed the people and says she will likely be executed. Barkley asks his colleague for the keys, and after some hesitation, he gets them and decides to act. Hannah questions what he is doing as armed soldiers point their guns at him. Hannah warns him not to do it, and Barkley believes they will not shoot him in front of the press. He reverses the truck suddenly, causing the container holding Salt to fall into the water. The container door opens and Salt swims free. Barkley jumps into the water, and Salt grabs him. Hannah orders everyone to search the river, and Kate is shocked by Barkley's actions, and Kirby and Barbara also learn what he has done. UNIT receives news of Keith's assassination, and Kate calls it an act of terrorism and orders Jane to investigate. Suddenly, alarms sound, warning that life forms are approaching, and Kate agrees to act as ambassador since Barkley is missing. 8 Homo Aqua arrive, along with a new life form, and the new being is revealed to be a male warrior, and Kate speaks to him. The warrior asks why humans are acting irrationally. He says humans entered their world and died, making everything worse. Kate admits she has no answer and apologizes. The warrior introduces himself as Tide and accepts her response. Tide asks about Salt, and says she chose to save a human and allowed Aquakind to die. While Salt helped Barkley, Aquakind were murdered, and Tide says Salt must face punishment under the sea and demands to know where she is. Tide learns that Salt has escaped because of Barkley, and Kate tells him she cannot hand Salt over if he intends to punish her. Tide declares that they are now at war, and seeing Kate's despair, he believes she will try to prevent future losses. Tide says Aquakind are tired of waiting and will escalate if necessary, and warns them about a third ambassador named Rust. Rust can create a weapon that causes rust, destroying cities, cars, and missiles. Tide says negotiations are over. He demands that Salt be found and returned and declares that Aquakind plans to change the human world within 5 years. Meanwhile, Gunsberg tells Prime Minister Shaw that Salt must be found. Tests have been done, but severance has never been used on an adult Homo amphibian, and Gunsberg believes that if they can use Salt, he can end the war by tomorrow. Meanwhile, Salt and Barkley emerge from the water together and take shelter in an abandoned warehouse. Barkley tells Salt that she saved his life by kissing him, and Salt explains why the kiss was necessary underwater. She then talks about life beneath the sea. Her people mate at random and spawn in the thousands, but she believes they are capable of more. Barkley asks what would happen if Salt returned home, and Salt says she would be forced to swim alone. To her, this would be worse than execution. She would live with a dead soul, and Salt says Barkley would understand this kind of loneliness, because she senses loneliness in him as well. Barkley speaks about nearly dying and says everything felt better when Salt pressed her lips to his. Salt says Barkley is unique, and they share more kisses. Elsewhere, Kate walks past a memorial for the victims, including Christopher, and later, she sits in her car and breaks down in tears. Back at the warehouse, Barkley and Salt hear a helicopter hovering overhead, and Salt asks if there is anyone in the army Barkley can trust. Barkley says the situation goes beyond the army and the police, and Salt asks about Kate, calling her a good soul. Barkley says he is not sure how to reach her, and also tells Salt that she does not have to stay with him. Salt explains that if she enters the water, her people will immediately know, they will find her and punish her. Barkley says they need to leave the city, and he suggests going to North Wales, explaining that he knows someone there. They then discuss how they can reach North Wales, and Barkley remembers that the area is lawless. In a tunnel, they scare a man who is walking alone and take his phone, and Barkley calls Kirby on her secret phone. She answers, and Barkley tells her that he is safe and warns her to be very careful. He then asks Kirby to pass the phone to Barbara, and when she speaks to him, she learns that Barkley is with Salt. Barkley tells Barbara what he will need, including a permit to move through the city, and tells her to meet him in Festival Bridge. What Barkley does not know is that law enforcement is already with Barbara, listening to their conversation. Kate learns that a meeting is planned at Festival Bridge in 20 minutes and sends Hannah there, and at the same time, Gunsberg also learns about the meeting and orders Captain Kumalo to capture Salt for him. Back at headquarters, Steve tells Kate that Salt's confession video has been confirmed as a deepfake, and explains that it was coded. Barkley sees Barbara arriving at the Festival Bridge and goes with Salt to meet her, but they do not realize that the car is being watched by the soldiers. As they approach, Barbara warns them to run, but the soldiers surround them before they can escape. Captain Kumalo suddenly stops communicating with Unit, and Kate realizes this is Gunsberg's doing. She orders Gunsberg to stand down, but he refuses, and tells Kumalo that he only needs Salt's body. Hannah tries to get Salt and Barkley to come to her safely, and in the process, Barkley is detained during the chaos. Kate tries to stop Gunsberg from killing Salt, ordering her soldiers to fight Gunsberg's troops, while Barkley shouts at Salt to run to the river. Suddenly, Salt lets out a powerful screech that creates an ear-piercing sound, overwhelming everyone. Salt jumps into the river, and as she disappears, Barkley shouts that he will find her and that she will never have to swim alone. Okay guys, that's all the recap about the war between the land and the sea episode 3 and 4 from 2025. Thanks for watching, see you again in the next video.